Hi there, welcome back. Welcome to another project. This time I'm starting a Telefunken. This is the Telefunken Dacapo 9, 1958 if I'm not mistaken. And as I've probably mentioned 100 times on my channel, if you're a regular viewer, you'll know the Telefunken is way up there amongst my favorites. I think my favorites, you probably guessed from the last series, are the Sabers. They were the Rolls-Royce of the era. Telefunken was just a little below that in terms of price and position in the market, but they are incredible radios, really, really well built. And I'm really happy to have got hold of this one. They're not easy to find these days. I mean, you can find them if you want to pay an absolute fortune for them. So when you get one at a reasonable price, grab it. And long wave, medium wave, and FM. There's no shortwave. That's fine. And the sound should be quite good because, as usual, this is one of those that's built with all sorts of tone shaping selections on the piano keys. So you put in more bass, you click more bass, and it gives you more bass. You click intimate and jazz, and there's various options here that you can choose. They are presets, but they come in to the circuit in a very interesting way, which is always something I like seeing on the schematics. Now, this radio is in actual pretty good condition. And according to the description on the eBay listing, it's switches on, whatever that means. The description is like 3 lines. That's all it says. It's on. And also it was in German, so I translated that. I think I got that right. But we'll probably try it on with the dim bulb tester very carefully. I'm not sure. Let's have a closer look and we'll decide where to go from there. As is obvious, the condition is actually pretty good. If you look at it, it's nothing like some of the ones I've seen on this channel, that I've actually done on this channel. Grill cloth is impeccable. We don't see anything broken. There's the usual wear and tear of all the signs of age, which is fine. We can always clean that up and repair whatever is necessary. But this one's looking good. It's promising. The cabinet is in very good condition, as are the side plates, the speaker grills, nothing broken. If you look closely at the shine, you can see the patina of age with a cracked varnish, which is quite normal as well. And look at that. Look at that grill cloth. Beautiful. Beautiful. And here we have the usual volume control. There we have the magic eye, which is not there. I don't see the tube inside. Strange. Okay, doesn't matter. Moving on to the right, we have the piano keys, and as you can see, we've got bass, speech on the left there. Then we've got off, Tonband and TA, that's speaker, that's tape or pickup. Then long wave, medium wave, and UKW's FM. And there we have another 2 of those tone shaping options, intimate and jazz. I'll do something to the tone shaping. I'm not quite sure what it is. We'll find out. And then we have our tuning. And this one is slightly different to the Grundig's. As you can see, this is moving the bottom tuning, the FM tuning. And this one is moving the top, the AM bands. So this does not have the clutch mechanism. That's very, very common on Grundig's and some others. And I think I've seen it on the Telefunken 2004 and 2114, if I'm not mistaken. But this one has separate tuning. So we don't have a problem or potential problem with the clutch. And again, everything seems to be in good condition. There's nothing broken. There's nothing cracked. There's some dirt, but that's easily cleaned up. And they cleaned up very well. This plastic, whatever it was from that era, cleans up very, very well, as long as it's not broken. So that's great news so far. There is no metal tab on here, but it's on neither, and I think I can feel where it should have been. I think it fell off. I'm not sure, but both of them are the same, so perhaps they were built this way. Who knows? The logo at the bottom is in perfect condition as well. There's a hole there. I don't know why. Another one there. I'm wondering if this thing didn't have a different logo. But Anyway, those can all be fixed. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the cabinet work yet, whether I'm going to sand it down to the wood and try and compete with Dave Tipton. I wish. Or if I'm going to just do some superficial repair of the varnish and leave it with a little bit of patina on there, a little bit of the aged look and some of the imperfections, but I'll decide that later on. Let's turn around and have a look at the back. And again, a very nice looking backside. Sorry, I couldn't resist. We've got the usual. We've got the antenna connectors here. This thing's coming from the internal antenna and it goes in here. It can go in one of two positions, depending on whether you want to use this as a simply an FM dipole, or if you want to use it also for the AM. There's a selector tab which you move from one position to the other over there. I'll show you when we remove this and when we start working on it. This is the tape input and probably output. This is a DIN connector, so it's probably got a record out as well. There's our phono input. This is the serial number, speaker out, external speaker out, 5 ohms. There's our voltage selector, and it's set to 220 volts, 50 hertz. It says max 55 watts. I'm not sure whether there's a 240. Oh yeah, there is. There is a 240 volt option, which is great. If you've seen the last video in the Breisgau series, you'll see that that makes life a lot easier. You select 240 because the voltages now have gone up from the what used to be 220 in the old days, and they tell you what fuse to use if you're using that particular range. 220 or 240, use 300 milliamps. If you're in a country that has the 110 to 125 or whatever, actually it says 150 as well, then you get 0.6 amp fuse, and the lamps are 7 volts, 300 milliamp lamps. Now we just have to remove these guys and the whole thing should come out. It's very simple. You don't actually remove them, you just loosen them and they slip back or down. I find the radios that have this system have fewer screws missing because people don't lose them. Okay, let's have a look here. Wow. All right, the usual. I always say this, dust, dust, dust. What is this? Oh, this came from here. Okay, let's have a closer look. By the way, here's the magic eye. It seems to have sprung out of its clip over there, or the clip is not there. It's an EM80, so it's not one of the ultra expensive ones, which is a good start. Brilliant speaker, amazingly big speaker, as you can tell. This is fabulous. This speaker is going to sound really great. And then on both sides, you've got 2 electrostatic tweeters. We'll have to check how those are. They are connected with these wires here, and the other one with these 2 over here. So to remove the chassis, we'll have to disconnect these wires and also the ones going to the speaker. Now, what do we see here? Let's have a closer look. This is a rather, I wouldn't say unusual. Yeah, I would say unusual. This is a rather unusual chassis. It's open at the bottom. I know some of them have it like that, but this one's quite small. It's quite narrow compared to the ones, the usual ones that I've seen. So this is one difference, and I always like things to be slightly different because it makes it more interesting. There's the FM front end inside that shield, the ECC 85 tube for the FM over there. This is loose. I think one of the clips here is broken off, so this thing is loose. We'll just have to see if it's actually yeah, the rubber's, it's got elastics here that are broken off, so that shouldn't be a problem. But we'll have to check that all the wires are intact. We've got our antenna input over here, and as I mentioned, you can have connected one way or the other way, and you choose whether you want it to be just for FM, this dipole, or whether you want it to be for FM and AM. I'll have to look at the schematic when we put that when we look at that and see exactly how that fits in. Here we've got our inputs, the phono and the tape, the IF transformer. Oh, behind that is the ECH81, which is a mixer oscillator tube. the IF transformer, one of the IF transformers. There's the IF amplifier, which is an EF89. Yep. The output transformer over there with very original looking components. A few of those paper caps which need to be replaced. It's looking really good regardless of the dust. The dust is nothing. Then we've got the detector tube over here, which is what is it, EABC 80? Yeah, and the other IF transformers in here. So this thing is in one metal shield, or one metal casing, including the tube, which makes this thing a lot quieter, so it doesn't pick up so much noise from the exterior. That's a very good good move. Quite a few of the radios from that era did have this, but it's always nice to see. EABC 80, and then we've got the power tube, an EL84 as usual. Our fuse. We've got our transformer down here, nice and sort of out of the way. Not small, not big, sort of a decent size. There's an AG vertical selenium rectifier. I always tend to replace those. Not much else we can see from here. What we need to do next is actually remove it from the casing. And as we can see here, we've got a 240 volt selection. I think you actually need to force this a little bit. I'm not sure. I don't want to damage it. I'll check. You rotate it up and the 240 winding is the one that becomes active. I think there's a screw there. Maybe you have to remove it and fit it back in, but we'll check. Just a warning. I notice two sort of studs in here and there's a tape over it. I can almost bet you that this thing's got high voltage on here. And I'm not sure why. I think they used it as a sort of tag connector to supply B+ to some of these tubes. But these guys tend to have B+ on here, which is a bit strange, having B+ sticking out the back. And yep, the reason I know is because I took one of these off once. I wanted to polish all the brass on here. Took it off, polished all the brass, didn't put the tape back, and then I touched it. It's not fun. So these things you've got to be careful with. But I'm almost sure that we've got something metallic down here and that it has B+. Yeah, two metal stubs on there, and it's got high voltage. So we have to be careful with that. This is to keep the back panel away from the chassis. Yeah, I think it's time to remove this from the cabinet and get a closer look on the underside. As I mentioned, I've got to desolder the wires for the electrostatic tweeters and also for the speaker, and I think the whole thing just shifts out backwards. Before taking it out of the cabinet, I remembered that I promised to test this, in other words, power it up, and the reason I'm powering it up is I'm believing in the advert that said that it switches on. So let's see if it's a switch on or a blow up. I'm going to connect it to the dim bulb tester, and for the purposes I'm going to put on only the one lamp, which is 40 watts. These are all off. Okay, the limit's on. We'll power that up and we'll see if this gives us anything. Volume high. I've got my eye on the dim bulb tester, so I'm just going to put it on FM. Okay, the bulb went on and then dimmed again. I can hear a hum. Let's try medium wave. Can hear something. Well, it's trying. I'll give it another light bulb. So the voltage has gone up to 200 volts. Oh yeah. Well, it's trying. Oi. That's trying as well. Let's try FM. Yes. Give it another light bulb.
animais, é exatamente aquilo que acontece. Cima populacional. Ponto é.
Okay, well, it's very muffled. The AM bands are receiving very poorly, and they should have worked even with the slightly reduced voltage with the dim bulb tester. FM normally needs, pretty good voltage level, so maybe the reason the FM reception is not so good is because of that. But at least we know it's working, and as I've said countless times before, it's always easier to start a radio that's working and then you improve it than to have one that's dead. So yeah, okay, good news. Now time to get it out of the cabinet and see what we're facing. Well, need I say it? I think we've had some residents in here. This thing has built up quite a layer of fluff. So I'm not going to mess with that without gloves. Don't know what it is. I've just seen a video by George Christophe, who actually got poisoned by some stuff that was on a set of radios that he bought at an auction house. He went and got it. I don't know. I think, George, you might see these videos. I have no idea how the hell you managed to transport so many radios from an auction house. But well done. Congratulations. I think you win the prize there. Anyway, he saw some white powder on these radios and he touched it with his bare hands, and he ended up with poisoning. It was an insecticide. He ended up in hospital. And according to him, it wasn't fun. George, I hope you're fine. And this is what we're facing. Beautiful. This fluff has protected the metal. It's coming off like a little blanket. Nice. Okay. It looks like it snowed in here. Anyway, we've got our usual suspects. The on-off switches there. The fuses here. There are our tubes. Our filter cap actually serves as a base for this ferrite antenna. So I'm probably going to have to restuff it. Just make sure I leave it there so that it holds the ferrite antenna in place. FM front end. Output transformer with the usual original components. You've got to really wipe it down to see them. These caps will all need to be replaced. Nothing surprising there. It looks absolutely original, which is brilliant. This is really brilliant. Let me look on the underside. So here's a look at the interior. Again, nothing unusual except that this deep chassis version, which is what we have here, it's actually quite deep and it's pretty narrow, has forced them to sort of do more of a 3D effect, which makes some of these components down here a little bit more difficult to get to, but not impossible. So I see some paper caps, a couple of electrolytics. They've actually used a couple of ceramic capacitors, and those you normally don't need to change. Some polyester caps over here, which you normally don't need to change. These resistors seem to be okay. Everything looks absolutely original. I don't see anything that's been changed here, which is great news. If we look down here, some switching, the tubes. You see, if you have to get to the tube sockets down here, it's pretty tough. Oh God, there's a capacitor way at the bottom there. That's going to be fun. Yeah, okay. It's all doable. The switching seems to be in good order. It's easily accessible to lubricate it. No problem there. Some of those tone shaping buttons work with these resistor capacitor combinations. So we've got one example here and another example here. What is that? That's coming out. Okay. All right. So far, so good. There's our volume control. There's no tone control. Yeah, you got the tone shaping, but no actual variable tone control, which is okay. Again, a few more resistors, capacitors on there, as is to be expected. And here on the outside, we can actually see the FM front end sticking out with the tuning. And then the tuning on the other capacitor is actually done directly through the tuning shaft into the tuning cap on the back there. So all looks good. Now that I've got this thing on the stand, it's a bit wobbly. This aluminium is actually very thin, and the radio is just a little bit too big for this one, but too small for the big one. So it sort of wobbles a bit. No problem. It'll do the job. So I'm going to get started on this. I'm going to remove the faceplate so I don't break it, remove the knobs and everything else, and then start on the usual routine. Power supply, or check the transformers first. Power supply, power amplifier, and preamp, and then the radio sections. So that's the work that I have cut out for me. And this, as I said, a Telefunken with some pretty nice features, especially the tonal features, the tone shaping, and a speaker that's to die for. I mean, this thing must have incredible sound. So I'm looking forward to this one. I'm looking forward to owning this one. And I hope you will join me in this restoration series. So that's it for now. I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that, click like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. And if you want to support the channel directly, you can do so on Patreon. Links are in the description and at the end of the video. Once again, thanks for watching. Bye for now and stay safe.